Hi, everyone. This is the first installment of a series I'm calling Let's Read with Mr. Thomas, which is pretty much what it sounds like. The work I've selected is Fyodor Dostoevsky's Notes from Underground. Wikipedia is an adequate context. Notes from Underground, also translated as Notes from the Underground or Letters from the Underworld, is an 1864 novella by Fyodor Dostoevsky. Notes is considered by many to be one of the first existentialist novels. It presents itself as an excerpt from the rambling memoirs of a bitter, isolated, unnamed narrator, generally referred to by critics as the Underground Man, who is a retired civil servant living in St. Petersburg. The first part of the story is told in monologue form, or the Underground Man's Diary, and attacks emerging Western philosophy, especially Nikolai Chernyshevsky's What is to be Done. The second part of the book is called Apropos of the Wet Snow and describes certain events that appear to be destroying and sometimes renewing the Underground Man, who acts as a first-person, unreliable narrator and anti-hero. This is one of my favorite books, and I hope it'll become one of yours too. For no reason, I'm reading the translation by Constance Garnett, revised by Ralph Matlaw. Part 1. Underground. Superscript 1 with a footnote. Interesting way to begin a novel. The author of these notes and the, quote, notes themselves are, of course, imaginary. Nevertheless, such persons as the writer of these notes not only may, but positively must exist in our society, considering those circumstances under which our society was, in general, formed. I wanted to expose to the public, more clearly than it is done usually, one of the characters of the recent past. He is one of the representatives of the current generation. In this excerpt, entitled Underground, this person introduces himself, his views, and, as it were, tries to explain the reasons why he appeared and was bound to appear in our midst. In this following excerpt, the actual notes of this person about several events in his life will appear. Fyodor Dostoevsky. 1. I am a sick man. I'm a spiteful man. I'm an unpleasant man. I think my liver is diseased. However, I don't know beans about my disease, and I'm not sure what is bothering me. I don't treat it and never have, though I respect medicine and doctors. Besides, I'm extremely superstitious. Let's say, sufficiently so to respect medicine. I am educated enough not to be superstitious, but I am. No, I refuse to treat it, out of spite. You probably will not understand that. Well, but I understand it. Of course, I can't explain it to you just who I am annoyed, in this case, by my spite. I'm perfectly well aware that I cannot get even with the doctors by not consulting them. I know better than anyone that I thereby injure only myself and no one else. But still, if I don't treat it, it is out of spite. My liver is bad. Well then, let it get even worse. I've been living like that for a long time now, 20 years. I'm 40 now. I used to be in the civil service, but no longer am. I was a spiteful official. I was rude and took pleasure in being so. After all, I did not accept bribes, so I was bound to find a compensation in that at least. A bad joke, but I will not cross it out. I wrote it thinking it would sound very witty, but now that I see myself that I only wanted to show off in a despicable way, I'll purposely not cross it out. When petitioners would come to my desk for information, I would gnash my teeth at them and feel intense enjoyment when I succeeded in distressing someone. I was almost always successful. For the most part, they were all timid people. Of course, they were petitioners, but among the fops there was one officer in particular I could not endure. He simply would not be humble and clanked his sword in a disgusting way. I carried on a war with him for 18 months over that sword. At last I got the better of him. He left off clanking it. However, That happened when I was still young. But do you know, gentlemen, what the real point of my spite was? Why, the whole trick, the real vileness of it lay in the fact that continually, even in the moments of the worst spleen, I was inwardly conscious with shame that I was not only not spiteful, but not even an embittered man, that I was simply frightening sparrows at random and amusing myself by it. I might foam at the mouth, but bring me some kind of toy, give me a cup of tea with sugar, and I'd be appeased. My heart might even be touched, though probably I would gnash my teeth at myself afterward and lie awake at night with shame for months after. That is the way I am. I was lying when I said just now that I was a spiteful official. I was lying out of spite. I was simply indulging myself with the petitioners and with that officer, but I could never really become spiteful. Every moment I was conscious in myself of many, very many elements completely opposite to that. I felt them positively teeming in me, these opposite elements. I knew that they had been teeming in me all my life, begging to be let out, but I would not let them, purposely would not let them out. They tormented me till I was ashamed. They drove me to convulsions, and finally they bored me. Ah, how they bored me. Well, are you not imagining, gentlemen, that I am repenting for something now? That I am asking your forgiveness for something? I'm sure you're imagining that. However, I assure you, it does not matter to me if you are. Not only could I not become spiteful, I could not even become anything, neither spiteful nor kind, neither a rascal nor an honest man, neither a hero nor an insect. Now I am living out my life in my corner, taunting myself for the spiteful and useless consolation that an intelligent man cannot seriously become anything, and that only a fool can become something. Yes, an intelligent man in the 19th century must and morally ought to be preeminently a characterless creature. A man of character, an active man, is preeminently a limited creature. That is the conviction of my 40 years. I'm 40 years old now, and 40 years, after all, is a whole lifetime. After all, that is extreme old age. To live longer than 40 years is bad manners. It's vulgar, immoral. Who does live beyond 40? Answer that, sincerely and honestly. I'll tell you who do. Fools and worthless people do. I tell all old men that to their face. All those respectable old men with those silver-haired and reverenced old men. I tell the whole world that to its face. I have a right to say so, for I'll go on living to 60 myself. I'll live till 70, till 80. Wait, let me catch my breath. No doubt, you think, gentlemen, that I want to amuse you. You're mistaken in that, too. I'm not at all such a merry person as you imagine, or as you may imagine, however, if irritated by all this babble, and I can feel that you are irritated. You decide to ask me just who I am, then my answer is, I'm a certain low-ranked civil servant. I was in the service in order to have something to eat, but only for that reason. And when last year a distant relation left me 6,000 rubles in his will, I immediately retired from the service and settled down in my corner. I used to live in this corner before, but now I have settled down in it. My room is a wretched, horrid one on the outskirts of town. My servant is an old countrywoman, spiteful out of stupidity, and moreover, she always smells bad. I'm told that Petersburg climate is bad for me, and that with my paltry means it is very expensive to live in Petersburg. I know all that better than all these sage and experienced counselors and monitors, but I'm going to stay in Petersburg. I will not leave Petersburg. I will not leave because... After all, it doesn't matter in the least whether I leave or stay. But, incidentally, what can a decent man speak about with the greatest pleasure? Answer, about himself. Well then, I will talk about myself.
No.
Well, that's the first chapter. I hope you were as intrigued with it as I was. If you'd like to continue with the story, just click on the next video. This was Let's Read with Mr. Thomas. And remember, be well, gentle readers.